Now, we're going to have a very interesting conversation on stage with a very interesting person. Those who are going out is doing totally wrong, by the way. Let's just get it started. I don't really wanna go into too much detail. This is going to be a very interesting conversation with Paul Bragiel from so many places, probably from San Francisco and Chicago, and let's just get it started. Paul, can we have you on stage? Hey, I believe we have to have another mic. Can we please have another mic?
That might help. I could shout really loud. Is this on? Hello? Okay, great.
So, I was really thinking quite a bit to decide what's the best way of introducing you. So, the last time we met, we were in a refugee campus in Beirut in Lebanon, and Paul was doing a movie about the camp, and then, or was in a movie about a camp, and then afterwards we met in a taxi in Tokyo, and then we met last year in Digital Freedom Festival, and now we met here on stage. So Paul is like, do you still want to be a taxi driver in New York City?
Yes, I would love to be a taxi driver. I think the thing is, I'd be an Uber driver nowadays.
An Uber driver?
It'd be much easier, right? So yeah.
So you invested in Uber, do you?
I did, correct, yes.
Okay, so can I ask you what's going on in Uber? How do you feel about that company right now?
I mean, so there's been a lot of turmoil, right? But I mean, I got involved in the company actually first as an advisor. I was there and helped them hire 2 of the first 10 engineers. And so I know Garrett and Travis really well. I'm a bit sad to see some things have happened, right? And some of the, I guess, bad blood that happens. But the company is still doing amazing, still growing like crazy, and hopefully, with the new leadership that they could take it to the next level. But like, the company would have never gotten there with the previous leadership, and I'm still a big fan of them. I still think they did great things. They did some wrong things, but they did a lot of great things as well too.
So what do you think of Travis' mental state? How is he now? Because that's been a journey for him personally, I believe, quite a bit.
I mean, if anybody's had a really hard year, it's that guy, right? His mom dies in an accident, right? The company he started pretty much gets pulled off from under him. People are doubting his legitimacy as the CEO. I mean, he built this thing. This company would not exist without Travis, right? So, yeah, I think it's been a really hard year for him. And, hopefully he could now step back a little bit and relax a little bit. Knowing him, probably not. But hopefully he could kind of recover and then, take it to the next step in his personal career. Or, if he wants to just take off the next 10 years, he has that right to do that.
Okay. What do you think, like, the personal responsibilities, let's not talk about Travis personally, just generally, if you're a tech leader, what's your personal responsibility about the DNA of a company, of what do they do, how do they treat the people inside the company? I
mean, the company, when you start a company, right, the company kind of takes on you and your personality. So, yeah, the DNA of a company is a big part, right? And that's how you go out there and attract people. It's how you recruit and how you go out there and kind of optimize. So it is a big part. But as you get bigger, it's not only you. It's there's other people outside. There's board of directors of kind of also giving input. There's also early employees. So it's a collection of everybody. But yeah, you as the leader, you do have a good amount of input, and so you have some responsibility. I'd say I wouldn't say it's all on you. It's on everybody. But yeah, you are part of it as well, for sure.
So the rumors are that you're going to do something in Latvia, and it has something to do with venture funds. Can you confirm that?
I'm having discussions. We'll see if the country of Latvia gives me a good enough deal to do something here. It really depends on, can they compete globally against other countries I'm talking to, and can they really kind of step it up? But yeah, I'm interested. I think the Baltics are a super interesting region. I think, Riga is right in the middle. It's a beautiful city, a lot of amazing people here. So if we can make the deal work, I'd be more than happy to do more stuff here.
I was thinking, what is the question that comes to my mind when I thought about you? The first question was, tell me about the presidents.
The presidents? What does that mean?
So you got some really interesting relationship with presidents. So you got a Colombian citizenship, I believe. The president was involved, and you were advising some presidents, and so So what's in there? Like what?
Okay, I'll step back and tell you how it started, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I'm a nerdy guy, right? I am self-taught engineer, really bad engineer actually, and I started companies. I started a game studio. I started 2 companies in Silicon Valley. And then around 2008, 2009, I started doing some investments, right? And I got involved in some really big companies like Uber and Unity and Zappos and stuff like that. And this is kind of exactly when kind of entrepreneurship around the world started picking up. People are like, hey, this entrepreneurship thing's really cool, right? No one was really talking about how cool entrepreneurship was 7, 10 years ago. But as I was starting to invest and getting into some of these big companies, a lot of governments, a lot of countries around the world started saying, hey, we want tech. We want to go out there and not be disrupted ourselves. And somehow, between me and some of my connections and kind of my history of traveling a lot, I started meeting a lot of governments, and that kind of just started escalating, right? And sooner or later, you meet one prime minister, you meet 2, you go to places like Davos, and all of a sudden, you have a lot of these people that are your friends that are heads of state.
What can they do? What can they do for, I don't know, what cool things they can do for you or for anybody?
Well, I mean, so...
If you meet a president, what can they do cool?
A lot of times, the conversation is pretty mundane, right? But sometimes, if they're progressive and they actually want to do things for their country, they could do a lot, right? I mean, 1, they could give resources. 2, you're talking about leadership, right? You're talking about startup leadership. Same thing with president or prime minister. It starts at the top. If some prime minister says, hey, tech is fucking cool, I want to encourage our youth to build cool stuff, you know what? People start listening, right? I remember one time I have a fund in Africa, right? And we're the first venture capital fund in Africa. And so I was there, and we met up with President Kikwete, the president of Tanzania. And like my co-founder in the fund, he was telling his grandparents, his family and friends what he's doing for years. They're like, we don't get what entrepreneurship is, we don't get technology is. But there's a picture of him on the front page of the newspaper shaking the hand of the president. Holy shit, everybody understands. This is something important, right? So the president, these guys are good for media, they're good for allocating resources, and they're good for inspiring people who might not know what it is. So they are valuable, right? They're not gonna go out there and tell you what the coolest new fucking open source technology is. They're not gonna tell you how to run your company, but they could go out there and make what your profession is more understandable to people around you and kind of make it more an accepted path in life. So yeah, they are useful, very useful.
All right. What does money mean to you?
Money's a tool to do cool shit, right? So I don't want to have that much money when I die. I want to use it and have really cool, fun experiences with it, and be involved in really cool projects. So all the money I've made, I've plowed pretty much back into entrepreneurship. I kind of invest all my money, and most of my personal net worth is in other people's companies. So yeah, money to me is just a tool to be around interesting people and enable them, and have some really fun experiences and live an interesting life, I guess.
How did you? Yeah. So talking about the places you can go to, how did you hack the Olympic Games?
Okay, this is like a 25-minute story, but very quickly. I mean, so I read the rules of every single sport. I found out there's 4 sports where they have more flexible rules. I tried all those sports. I traveled around the world meeting the best coaches in these sports. I ended up picking the sport of cross-country skiing. I moved to Finland for 1 year, skied every single day, 3 to 5 hours a day, got super jacked, got in great shape. And then, yeah, I had to optimize not only for sport and the coaches and all that stuff, I had to become a citizen of a new country. Due to some friendships I have, I called up a President Santos of Colombia, asked him to make me a citizen of Colombia. He made that happen. I then started the Colombia national ski team, became the national champion by default, and made it happen. There's a 25-minute better version story, but for the sake of he wanted to be very rapid fire, I could do it very quickly too.
So you're okay. So you're citizen of where? What?
I'm the citizen of Colombia. I'm the national champion of cross-country skiing in Colombia.
Okay.
I competed at the 2000. Yeah, right. So. As a 40-year-old in the World Championships in 2017, right? So yeah.
Is that the only citizenship you have?
No, I'm American by birth, and I'm Polish by ethnicity. My parents are both from Poland. We're an immigrant family from Poland to the United States a year before I was born.
So you're not yet Latvian citizen?
I'm not a Latvian citizen yet. Are you
that
proposing something?
Well, you never know. I mean, we had a Latvian president here. I don't know. Maybe you can talk to him. Is that the only country you represented in the Olympics?
I have walked into the opening ceremonies with the country of Tonga as well. I'm not a citizen of that nation, but I was a coach for their team, kind of more of like a mental, inspirational coach. So yes, I actually am part of that national team as well. guys, this is all totally fucked up. And you're like, what the hell just hit me? But it's all true. You can all look up online, right?
It is really true. There's rarely when you have a person you meet who has a Wikipedia chapter, but then there's not only one chapter in that Wikipedia. There's like the whole thing about like you can't really. I don't know. I can't really say what Paul is in one sentence. I believe. What even? Like, okay, what do you do when you go home? What kind of music do you listen to?
So I listen to things that my brother Dan sends me. So I have a person that's kind of like my music concierge. So it's my brother Dan. We actually have a fund together, and we started 2 companies together. He has the musical taste in my family. But if it's me choosing it, I default to late 90s electronic music. That's kind of where I grew up in. And so, like, when you get older, you kind of stick to what you know. But my brother actually keeps me somewhat relevant, so that's good.
Tell me more about your brother. Dan is really amazing. Best wishes to him when you meet him. How is he doing? What's going on with the fund? Everything else?
So let me take a step back. So I have 2 younger brothers. One brother, my brother Dan, we've started 2 companies together. We started a venture capital fund together, and we're separated at the hip, right? So Dan is like, because I'm like the loudmouth, kind of a little bit eccentric, weirdo guy, and he's like super intelligent, super bright, and more like logistics based. So he actually makes me look good, right? So like I'm kind of out there floating around the world, and he's executing like a motherfucker. So if you want to meet anybody, he's the guy to meet. I'm the guy who's like, ha ha ha, and I'll give you a fun story and have a beer with you, right? So Dan's doing really well. He's actually flying in from San Francisco right now to Helsinki on that slush flight, I guess. And yeah, the fund's doing really good. We've done how many investments now? 23 investments in the last 18 months. We plan on doing 20 more over the next 18 months, and then we'll probably raise our next fund. But yeah, things are doing really well, and Dan's excelling.
Where's your home?
I don't live anywhere.
Okay, so what did you do for Thanksgiving? Where did you...
Thanksgiving, where was Thanksgiving? How many days ago was that? Oh, I did Thanksgiving in Spain with my girlfriend.
Tell me about the company that you started a long time ago. It's called Metro. What was it?
Yeah, so I started 3 companies. Metro was my second company. Metro was the world's first location-based social network. So we started in 2004. And yeah, I mean, think about what Facebook is, but you actually added locations. So we started actually within a few months after Facebook, right? But yeah, I mean, we were super duper early, right? Like we were trying to go out there and make people meet each other and kind of make new friends and hopefully also meet new people. A lot of dating happened. But yeah, we launched the company. It was a super huge Web 2.0 darling. We started actually in Chicago where I grew up, but that's actually the company that made me move to Silicon Valley. And once we moved to Silicon Valley, I mean, it was tons of media, tons of hype, and it kind of ushered me into the Valley. And it was a really great thing because also Metro was a very social product. So we ended up throwing a lot of events, we threw barbecues, so we built through that company one of the best networks in the Valley, right? And every single founder of that era was using our product, even though they didn't use it much, but they were using the product, they were coming to our events, and it kind of was a perfect way to enter the Valley. That company failed horribly though. We were super early, think 2004, right? I mean, iPhone was 3 years away, right? Tinder and stuff didn't start until like 5 or 8 years later, right? So we were just totally fucked. We were just super early, mistimed the hell out of it. But the team we built was awesome, right? One of my co-founders, he started a fund in Asia. It's really super successful. One of my other co-founders on the founding team of Ethereum, my other co-founder, Dan, we have a fund together, right? It was an amazing group of people that have gone, and the alumni network of Metro is super strong. But yeah, the company was just too early. And yeah, I shat the bed a bit there, so yeah.
So I take my social media trend advice from my daughter, Sophia, and I wonder, do you use Musically?
Do I what?
Do you use or Musically?
I do not use either, no.
All right.
I'm old. I use Facebook. I don't use Snapchat. I don't use fucking Instagram. I don't use anything.
What annoys you?
What annoys me? A lot of things. But I mean, I guess what annoys me is people who talk a big game but don't actually execute. I hate the shit out of that. I hate people that not hate, but I'm just annoyed by people they want to do something but they're too scared. It's kind of like, just do it, right? Like it'll be good for you. Like you really won't, gain it, lose anything by trying. One of the things that annoy me, people that leech, right? There's some people that are just kind of big takers in life, and they don't really give back, right? Yeah, and just in general, like bad actors, right? I mean, I think all of us are annoyed by stuff like that. But the opposite, and luckily most people aren't like that, thank God. I think life would really suck if most people were like that.
So Steve Jobs used to say that when you do a company and your initial goal of doing a company is selling a company, that is totally off from why you should be an entrepreneur. What do you think is a good motivation for doing this company? It's like when you start a startup, what should be the reason why you want to do that? Is that changing the world, or can it be just like down to earth? I want to build a company, I want to sell it, I want to buy a yacht and live there. What's the...
I mean, like, the whole, like, changing the world thing, that's cool and all, but most people don't want to change the world. You want to do something cool, right? Like, hey, I want to build this cool robot that could, do backflips or something like that. Maybe they change the world, maybe they're not, right? I want to go out there and build a better version of this video game. That's probably not going to change the world, but if it makes you happy and makes you proud, I think it's a great start, right? Maybe as you do it, you find a bigger purpose, but I think a lot of people also get hung up like, oh my God, this idea has to be so big. No, it doesn't. Most ideas start pretty small. I mean, I'm pretty sure when Steve Jobs started his company, he didn't want to change the world. He wanted to make a fucking computer for himself, right? His Facebook, they wanted to just fucking go out there and build a cool social network so he can meet more girls probably. I'm guessing it was Zuckerberg's intention. I don't know, maybe not. But yeah, like, I don't think these things start big. You have to just be passionate about something. You want to do something, solve a problem you have, and then maybe over time it evolves into something bigger. But I think to come off the bat, you're like 22 years old, you want to change the world, that's a lot of fucking pressure, right? No, you should go out there and do something that'd be just fun and exciting and that could have a good business. Also, I wouldn't consider about the exit. I mean, so this is actually another thing that annoys me, right? There are a lot of entrepreneurs or people starting companies with thinking only about the exit or only about like how I'm gonna make tons of money off this. No, you should be commercially minded, but you should be also building a product you're really excited about, right? And so I'm seeing a lot more people coming to the scene now that are more about that versus like, hey, I'm just a really cool tinkerer and I want to commercialize this beautiful thing I did, right? So yeah, you should be doing it because you're excited about it and you think that it's gonna bring a lot of personal satisfaction, and then also other people will enjoy using your product, and then after that, you can monetize and stuff like that.
Okay, so yesterday we had Willie here, and we had a room. We closed the doors and we took away everybody's phones, and he was showing photos of North Korea and what he was doing in Pyongyang, and I believe not only me, like a few more people learned about the Random Travelers Club. What is Random Travelers Club?
Okay, so I have this group of friends called, we call ourselves the Random Traveler Society, right? So me and Billy Metten, who was on stage yesterday, so Billy was an investor in this company, Metro, actually. And this company's kind of failing, and one day he comes over in San Francisco, and we just have a bunch of beers. And I'm like, dude, company's not doing so well. And he's like, yeah, well, whatever. Life sucks, and I invested in you. Well, hopefully you'll recover. We kept on having more beers, and we just started kind of digressing, not even talking about work. And we're like, you know what, man? How many countries have you been to? And we kind of started kind of sizing each other up, and I'm like, and I think I had him by like maybe 2 or 3 countries. But then we started saying, what really sucks is like we've gone to all the easy places. We've been to all of Western Europe. We've been to all of easy parts of Asia, the United States. Like we should go to some harder places in the world. He's like, yeah, I think that's really cool, right? And I told him like, hey, I've always had this dream where I want to go somewhere really random, like kind of just have, wherever life will take me. And he's like, that sounds really cool, right? So I'm like, Billy, this is what I want to do. I want to take a globe, throw up in the air, close my eyes, and just point, and wherever I land, we land, right? He's like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. Let's do that, right? So we kept on drinking some more, we kind of brainstorming. And then we're like, you know what, Billy? Okay, let's do this, right? So you bring 3 or 4 of your kind of top friends, and I'll bring 3 or 4 of my top friends, and we'll plan a trip. So we agreed to meet like a couple weeks later. We did first spin, and we landed in a place called the Chatham Islands, which is about 1,000 kilometers east of New Zealand, kind of in the middle of the ocean, right? And then we invited our group of friends, and these are all top entrepreneurs, right? So we have like Ville, we have some other kind of top guys from Finland, from the United States. We have founder of Yelp, Travis, founder of Uber. We have one of the early guys from Napster, like all these amazing guys. And every single year, we spin the globe and we land somewhere and we do a vacation together. So it's usually about a week long. And what's really cool about this is 1, we get to go to a new random country. 2, you're among these amazing people for a week. you get some really cool conversations happening, right? You start helping each other's companies out. We've actually co-invested and invested in each other's companies, been advisors. So you become this kind of huge, awesome unit, right? And also, when you show up in some of these countries, these are a lot of times kind of weird, smaller, kind of more exotic countries. When you come in with the founders of, Yelp, PayPal, Uber, etc., you meet some really interesting. So like you could go out there and set up some really amazing meetings with the governments and entrepreneurs, and we always host a dinner or like a pub night. And it just made our connections way more global as a result.
What happened in South Sudan?
What happened in South Sudan? South Sudan is separate of Ram Travel Society. It's another trip that I wanted to do always. So I grew up in the United States, and I grew up idolizing the American Revolution. I thought like Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Paul Revere, I thought these people were totally fucking badass. And I always wondered, what would it have been like to be at a country when the country, like day one, when it begins, like what would it be like, right? And so I was a little bit too young for when the wall fell down, and it kind of, let's say when, Riga regained, Latvia regains, I was too young for that experience. Like, fuck, I would love to be there on the day of independence of a country, right? And I kind of always had this in the back of my head. And then, about 6 years ago, about 7 years ago, I read that Sudan, the country, is breaking up into two countries, Sudan and South Sudan. And so I found a very unique way to get into the country. I got invited by the government of South Sudan to be, a visitor, right, which is really quite rare. I was actually not only non-political person there. I actually got invited to the first, presidential dinner there. And yeah, I got to be there when the country became created. So one day it's Sudan, next day it's South Sudan. And I was partying in the streets with all the locals. And that's an amazing, amazing feeling to be part of. And so that's what happened in South Sudan. That is also a 25-minute story about how did all this shit get together and all the logistics, but that's just a high-level overview. So maybe I'll tell you guys later tonight over some drinks or something like that.
So, about Silicon Valley and inclusiveness, what can we, do you think, so I believe it's like a whole responsibility of every single one in the tech community. It's like you have the privilege of being on a stage, you have the privilege of being visible. What can be done about the Silicon Valley to make it more inclusive?
There's a couple things, right? People should take more random meetings and try to be more kind of outside your circle, so kind of let more randomness in. Two, this is something that I am trying to do. I'm also trying to go outside of Silicon Valley, right? I'm trying to go to other markets that may be underserved, go out there and talk to countries that are poor, and try to put resources, hence the reason why I have the fund in Africa, why I also started in Southeast Asia. There are certain countries that are really poor, but people are smart everywhere. Like, that's one thing I truly believe, is that intelligence is evenly distributed all around the planet, right? The things that are missing is, one, access to people who've done it before. When I started my first company, I could knock on the door of other game companies and be like, hey, could you help me? And people would give me 15, 20 minutes. But if you're starting a company in the middle of Zimbabwe, no one's done it before, right? So one, access to people, mentors, connections. And then two, access to money, right? You need money to do this stuff, right? So I've been out there raising funds and putting money to work outside of the United States. So that's a way to make Silicon Valley more inclusive. We can also talk about gender issues, stuff like that. There's also people now starting funds around that, or there's certain funds that are kind of opening up and kind of setting a mandate where a certain percentage of their money should be spent on entrepreneurs of different color, different race, different ethnicity, etc. Right? Different genders, transgender, etc. So I think it's just a matter of being more aware of it. And there has been a lot more aware stuff recently. There's also been a lot of garbage and shit, and a lot of people doing nasty stuff. But the topic is out there, people are conversing about it. I think it's a good thing. Now, it's at least people are aware of it. Like, oh my God, maybe I am being a little bit biased here. Fuck, right? And so you have to just kind of address that.
Yeah, I believe so. So I also believe that, so Latvian passport, what gives you about like 8th or 9th best passport in the world, two white dudes sitting on the stage talking about ability of travel, and I know a couple of people in the audience took extreme length and pain to get into Latvia just because to be in Digital Freedom Festival. I think one thing we shouldn't underestimate is the privilege that absolutely unfairly we happen to have as probably being white, probably being in Silicon Valley, probably being Latvian American passports. Do you think we can do anything about the world within our lifetimes in the next 5 years, 10 years, 50 years to change the fact that people are very connected to their citizenships and passports, and can we do anything to make equal opportunities regardless of location you're coming from? You've been to countries which you have an opportunity to go to those countries, but the people in those countries don't have the opportunity to come to visit you in Chicago or Riga, for example. Do you think we as the presidents who you meet, or we as the governments we pay taxes to, can we do anything in a foreseeable future to make people not bundled with their passports like much?
I mean, I think you do that by kind of bringing more economic equality across borders, right? A lot of times people don't want to bring people in because they're worried about people staying and being a leech or being a burden on their society. So if you kind of go out there and increase the wealth of every other nation, hence bringing the opportunities, investment, etc., you can do that. And that's fuck the government, right? That's just by us. Every single person here, when you go to another country, maybe you go out there and invest or help out these people. Like, you can be an active change, every single one of you in this room. So, absolutely. And it doesn't take a government. We don't have to interface with any fucking presidents to do that. We could just do that ourselves by helping raise the quality of life of other people around the world. And we could do that by just spreading goodwill, putting investment, or even helping them connect to people that might be money, just helping people out in general.
I really want to ask you, do you play video games?
Right now, I don't play so much. I play one big game called Life. I don't know. But no, I grew up playing huge games. Obviously, I started a game studio. I'm actually the most prolific game investor in the world. I have over 100 investments in the game industry. So I play all the games that I invest in, but I'm not a hardcore gamer anymore.
Okay, wrapping up, what do you think about the future? What's your price prediction for Bitcoin in about 5 years?
I don't know. I am waiting for a crash. I think that there's a lot of bad people have come into this space. I want to flush those people out. What I'm saying is this. So .com, there's a big run up, right? And it attracted a lot of really shitty people. And then it crashed. And then like Web 2.0 and the really good people started coming to play. I'm kind of seeing a lot of garbage people coming in. I want to flush those people out and then kind of restart it a little bit. So I'm hoping there's like a mini or a big crash soon. And then I think it'll slowly rise to a very stable price going forward.
All right. Who will you be when you grow up?
This, I don't know. I'm hopefully a really old man that has a lot of fun stories.
Thank you, Paul. It was such a pleasure always talking to you.
Thank you.